Winner.
Long ago, in a galaxy far, far away, the Star Wars saga began, and Kenner continues the excitement.
Star Wars figures.
The Empire Strikes Back turn of the Jedi.
Welcome to the Star Wars Collectors Archive podcast. It's the Chive Cast. The newest news on the oldest toys, from bubble bath to belt buckles, from 12 packs to 2 packs.
New boss, alien bounty hunter.
Of the Star Wars collection.
Watch out, Black Vader!
We bring the world of vintage Star Wars memorabilia alive with informative features and personal collecting stories.
Offer expires December 31st, 1979.
And R2-D2 with stethoscope.
The Supreme Master, the Emperor.
Brought to you by the Star Wars Collectors Archive. Skye and Steve analyze and review Solo, a Star Wars story, by breaking down which vintage Star Wars collectibles will benefit from the movie and which ones will suffer from it. From Snoopies to Troopies, Chewie to Han, and from 3PO to Gonk, we cover it all in our now traditional Top 10 Winners and Losers list. How can a new movie impact the collectability and desirability of 40-year-old toys? Listen to find out our take on the 90th Chive Cast Vintage Pod, a podcast story, anthology, Solo, a Star Wars story podcast, Star Wars Collectors Archive, podcast, pod, vintage, story, podcast. Wampa Wampa.
Welcome to Chivecast 90.
Yes, 90. This is our show exclusively dedicated to talking about Star Wars, a Han Solo story, Chewbacca.
You mean Chewie, a Chewbacca story?
Yes. It's funny because Steve asked me if there was background noise. You may hear a fan. My air conditioning's broken for the third year in a row.
Oh, no.
And I got my dog. He's running up, making little click-clacks. You might hear him in the background. Of course, Steve and I are busy planning the next archive party.
Yes. Yeah, it's officially the ball is rolling. So.
Yes. And Steve, did you notice how I took the lead on that? I started up that?
You texted me at like 5 in the morning or something.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was great. It was just... it got me really excited too. So,
but listen to Chivecast number 91 for more details on that.
Yeah,
because we're just talking about the movie, Steve.
Yes,
right. Han Solo, a Star Wars story, as it's called.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to talk about the fact that there was another 45-back C-3PO sold today.
Wait, what?
Okay, fine. We'll talk about that. So, if you've been listening to the show sequentially, you listened to the last blog pod,
right?
And based on the feedback, you didn't. But if you did, you'd notice that the first ever 45-back C-3PO was sold, and then the second one was sold, and then today a third one was sold. Steve,
really,
along with 2 other figures for $3,000. So,
So was it from Hong Kong as well?
Yes, it was from Hong Kong as well.
Oh man, the well is open.
It has, but we'll save that for 91, Steve.
Yeah,
we got to stay focused on
Solo,
Han Solo, a Star Wars story about Han Solo. So the way that we've usually done this is instead of giving a review, because who cares what we think about the movies besides some people, we do the sort of the top 10 winners and top 10 losers.
Right.
And I have a list here. I drew it in my son's sketchbook. During his band concert today.
You made kind of like a word cloud here.
I did, yeah. I'll put pictures up on the enhanced version. Let's talk about you.
Okay. What would you like to know?
Okay, so this is the deal, Space Freaks. As you know, Steve has another Star Wars project that he cares about more than this podcast. And that's called Star Wars at the Movies, starwarsatthemovies.blogspot.net. And, no, what is it actually, Steve?
StarWarsAtTheMovies.com. You had it right, pretty much, yeah.
Okay. And he wrote an amazing write-up about the movie. Really, Steve, it was really well written.
Thank you.
It was good enough that I was angry that you were wasting all of your good ideas on something that isn't the show.
See, this is we got to split. It's an outlet. Yeah, we got to divert. Keep things focused, right?
Yes. But I do want to go on a tiny rant, if that's okay.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I mean, why not?
All right, Steve. I can't take the internet anymore, Steve.
Well, see, I had a feeling we might have the same the same rant pent up inside us.
But not only the internet, like what the internet's done to our brain. There's a kind of film review that I now call the 'cause I can film criticism. Where people, and I mean small-minded idiots, just sit there with a pen and a paper in their mind, taking notes of things that seem illogical. And they have like a set of little check boxes that they go through, just dying to see a mistake that they can talk about, to feel smart, to feel like they're smarter than the thing that they're watching. And they're watching idiot movies for idiot children, right? And they're sitting there and they think that they're some kind of brilliant film critics when they're not. Like you're watching, not garbage, but you're watching something that's not intended to be held up to a higher standard. And if it is held up to a higher standard, it's to be held up by someone who's smarter than you, okay? It's like, if you've ever watched that Cinemasins thing on YouTube, you know, it's really entertaining. They go through a movie in 17 minutes, pointing out all the little things that are wrong and the plot.
Right.
But it's complete idiocy. It's stupid. It makes you stupider for watching it, because we're like pushing towards a world where movie criticism is going to be only about pointing out things that are concretely evident. You know, like this doesn't work, that doesn't make sense, and I made the mistake because whenever a new Star Wars movie comes out, I listen to everything immediately and whatever I can. And so I listen to these two podcasts. Steve, you know me. I'm an intellectual. Yes. I'm a snob. I listen to a lot of NPR. Editor note, I'm not just referring to NPR and their podcasts on spoilers, but I actually was particularly mad about something that wasn't NPR, but in the same vein. That was a podcast called Slate Spoiler Specials, which is just the worst, lowest common denominator, middle brow junk. All this 'cause I can. Oh, I'm getting started again. All right, let's get back to the show. Ugh. The NPR... I don't know, spoiler cast or whatever it is the worst bit of film criticism I've heard in my entire life.
Yikes.
I mean, we're talking Kevin Smith saying that he likes Batman v Superman is better than this. It is these three smarmy, just self-loving, just every single thing they said was dismissive and arrogant and laughing and joking. And it's like they're supposed to be the gatekeepers. I tell you, it turned me into like a Trump voter for 5 minutes, because I was like, who are these idiots who think that they get to tell me what's smart? They can't even see the nose in front of their face. They kept on saying, this is a great movie for answering all the questions you never asked. They kept saying this over. Steve, I'm getting angry. I'm going to break this pencil in my hand. It's like,
take it easy.
I know,
Skye.
but like they kept on saying, like, did you want to know how he got his last name? Neither did I, but we got it anyway. It's like, listen, dick, I enjoy that, and it's okay if you don't, but don't act like your opinion has any kind of inherent truth just because, yes, objectively, you can look at that scene and say it's cheesy, but that doesn't mean you're right. 'Cause I can. Okay, right. So we are going to spoil it. And I know a lot of people haven't seen it because they are protesting The Last Jedi, Steve.
Oh, Lord.
And the last thing before I get to the top 10, of course, if some of our listeners are friends with me on Facebook, you'll know that my number one favorite thing to talk about in the world is Kanye. And
even more than Chewbacca.
Oh, yes. And there's one line in his song where he brilliantly puts forth the sort of pro and con of supporting Trump and the way that he did it. And I truly believe if everybody in the world listened to that song and really understood it, we would solve all of our problems. But he has this line where he's sort of talking about it, and he just goes, I know everyone's emotional. And that's how I feel with a lot of this internet criticism. It's like, I know you're emotional. It's okay. Just take it easy. Like, don't lead with that emotion. You didn't like it. Good. It's just take it easy.
Take it easy is something that I think that a lot of people should remember when it comes to Star Wars, but they don't. And
I swear, Steve, the correlation between the 2016 election and the reaction to The Last Jedi. No, I'm serious. With it, like in 20 years, you'll be able to draw a straight line from one to the next, because our sense of like outrage and anger and tribalism, it got excited by the election, and I think in sort of like a weird perverse way we sort of got off on it. You know what I mean? Like collectively as a country we have like this sort of weird sadomasochistic sexual pleasure with Trump and people who hate Trump. I think that's part of the reason why it's popular. It's just like, we can't get enough of the conflict.
Oh, I've had plenty. Enough.
Right. And you'll know when you've had enough when you stop talking about it. But I think, like, The Last Jedi just ended up being the 2016 election of Star Wars movies.
Yeah, that's a fair correlation, I'd say.
And everyone's emotional, and they lost their mind. And I don't know. I don't think that's happened with Solo. I don't think people have lost their mind.
No, I don't think so. All right, you ready for your list? Your word cloud?
Yes, we're word cloud. Now, Steve,
Okay.
do you have your own list of top 10 winners and losers?
So I didn't do a top 10. I kind of put things into a couple groups. I have winners, and then I have losers but winners. So they're not exactly losers. They're losers in the traditional sense of these episodes, but I find them winners in another way. So that's. I'm sure some of those will kind of cross over with what we've got. So I'll chime in when I have them.
Okay, so then my list will be the through line, and you can add in on that. And once again, let's just make this clear, okay? This is not the top 10 best and worst characters of Han Solo.
No.
A Star Wars story, okay? I don't care at all what you think about these characters. That's not where we're trying to go with it. We're trying to think of it in these terms. Like, what vintage collectibles will be most helped, and what vintage collectibles will be most hurt by this movie and its marketing and its existence, and that's what we've done for the last 3 Star Wars movies.
Right.
And
vintage relevancy.
Yes, vintage relevancy. So without further ado, actually with a lot of ado, I've had way too much ado at this point. Let's get to our top 10 list, Steve, with the number 10 loser.
10 loser. The her.
B-Wing pilot.
Of course he is.
Let me tell you why, Steve.
Please do.
He wasn't in the movie.
No, he wasn't. Had nowhere to be found.
So this is the 4th one of these that we've ever done, and he's usually the number 10 loser. And I think he should just always be the number 10 loser until he makes it into a movie.
See, I think, that, or I somehow end up not in last place in fantasy baseball. They should correlate where he is. So I'm all right with it. I'm comfortable with losing.
But honestly, too, it was hard to find that many losers in this movie.
Yeah. I had the same feeling. So I'm glad that we're on the same page there.
Yeah, I kind of had more winners than losers. Although I guess it is a question about whether or not the movie itself is going to be a loser for some vintage collecting.
Right. Okay.
Which I think it could be, but I think we'll get to that in later conversations. And the number 10 winner, Steve.
10 winner.
You win. Perfect.
Is Bossk.
Okay, yeah, all right. I had him in the plus column too. Okay.
I just like that they mentioned him. I like the way that, Dengar wasn't mentioned. I almost made him the number 10 loser. IG-88 wasn't. Like, there was one thing that I liked about the movie was there were a lot of throwaway super nerd references.
There were, yeah. And sometimes, like, for me, having that is better than having something visual thrown in your face, which is something that has driven me crazy about the last few of these new movies.
Right. You mean Finn picking up the remote?
Ah, that is the worst. That's my least favorite thing in the entire movie of Force Awakens, I think, is that.
Well, and actually, I looked at the making of Solo book, and there's a thing where the little weird sex robot is holding up the remote in the Falcon.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and so it turns out they didn't use it. Oh, and also one of Chewbacca wearing Stormtrooper armor. It is very weird.
What?
Yeah,
that's interesting.
It's worth checking out.
Okay.
But yeah, so I like that they just mentioned Bossk, and there wasn't like a big moment. It wasn't a big, I like that they went there, and then also just the amount of really obscure references that they made to EU stuff. That nobody was really looking for, because people who are into the EU aren't going to be happy with this movie anyway, because it just destroys everything.
Yeah, no. Exactly.
A really deliberate reference to that terrible video game that was
oh man,
there's Mortal Kombat but for Star Wars.
I love that game. The game was awesome.
Steve, that's just because you're 8 years old, man. I mean, I don't even know if we've talked about how good I was at Mortal Kombat 3 growing up. But I used to go down to Tommy's Pizza in Harvard Square, and I'd bring 50 cents, and I'd play for like 3 hours. No one could get me off the machine. And I would pick randomly, by the way, Steve. I'd play any character.
Yeah.
I knew all the combos, all the combo breakers. So like that was my favorite thing in the world. And then Star Wars was my favorite thing. And then they made a Star Wars fighting game.
That was a severe disappointment for you.
Masters of the Tetris Kazi, or whatever it was.
Yeah,
so
something like that. Yeah.
The fact that they had Khaleesi say that. So that's the realm that I would put Bossk in there.
Yeah. I mean, we could have seen his soft, baggy face, but maybe it was better that we didn't,
Yeah. And also, I've sort of become Facebook friends with Mark C. from NZ, as I call him, a guy from New Zealand. He's been sort of going through all of our episodes and kind of sending me notes about what he thinks about them.
That's cool.
He's an artist, and he also collects posters from the band The Smiths. So it's
that seems like a perfect match for you guys. Yeah.
Yeah. But he's a Bossk collector, so he was very excited. So
okay.
It's and also, Steve, I should mention that I put up on our Facebook page a place for people to say who they thought won and lost.
Yes, there's some great submissions in here.
And I'm going to be citing some of them. I stole some of the ideas from people. And I think we should just emphasize the fact that our Facebook page is really where most of the feedback is going to be read and appreciated.
Yeah, I think that's a fair call.
So,
all right.
For the number 9, let's say number 9 winner.
Okay.
9 winner.
I think it's the Death Star droid.
Okay. Yeah, that was one in your graphic that I hadn't thought about. I'm like, oh yeah, sure.
Just
he gets a good moment there.
He gets a great moment. And this is the thing, too. And this happened with Last Jedi as well. Just people saying that it's not funny. You're like, that's okay. But if you think it's funny, that's also okay. So, like, you can't objectively say, like, Last Jedi, take, for example, Poe, like, tooling around with Hux. Like, I think that's funny. And someone might think that's not funny. And I understand why someone would say that. But it's also okay for me to think it's funny. Right?
Yeah, no, I had the same thought about this one. I think the buzzword seems to be fun, and there was a lot of fun in The Last Jedi that maybe just didn't land the same way with people. But I think like what you're talking about is exactly that.
Right, and I've read a lot of reviews about this movie where they say that the comedy isn't good and then it's not funny, but it's kind of like, I mean, well, okay, I laughed and my kids laughed and my dad laughed and most of the people in the audience laughed, and then I saw it again and most of the people in the audience didn't laugh. So like, it's an action, like it's a sci-fi action movie that's not a comedy, and they injected some comedy. To their credit, they didn't try to marvel it up. They didn't try to jam jokes in every 5 minutes.
No.
Like that scene in Infinity Wars with the big blue guy sitting there eating potato chips, which is just a terrible scene.
I've already forgotten it.
Oh my god. He's like, I'm invisible, you can't see me. The joke goes on for like 5 minutes. It's just not... Anyway. Maybe I'm being a 'cause I can film critic. I don't know.
Uh-oh. Don't stray too far. Yeah.
But I like the movie. I didn't want to like the movie, but I did. So there you go. But this isn't an Infinity Wars thing.
No. All right, so Death Star droid, he's a winner. I'd agree with that.
He's a winner, particularly because I want to focus a lot on the side characters, the bit characters, the small characters from the original trilogy. He's one that makes an appearance, and very few don't. Much like our number 9 loser, which is another kind of stretch.
9 loser.
But I'm going to say the Rancor is a loser.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, yeah, because the best scene in the movie is the lead character being thrown into a pit with a monster.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I mean, that is, I was going to get to this at some point, but that was easily my favorite scene of the entire thing. I was just like stoked for you when I saw that.
And when I see it again, the scene of Han and Chewie meeting for the first time in the fight, that's the reason I want to go again. Like, I've seen it twice, and I'm going to go again just to see that. But the reason that I say Rancor is because I actually thought it was going to be a Rancor. And it was really funny because Zola leans over and goes, my daughter, she leans over and goes, my 10-year-old daughter, leans over and goes, it's going to be Chewbacca. And I go, And I was like, "Oh, you're right!" Like, so the whole time I thought it was going to be just like another random
monster.
beast.
Yeah,
Yep.
right. Yeah, that's funny.
So you can tell I didn't quite know what to do with losers number 9 and 10.
Yeah. All right.
For the number 8, what do you want, winner or loser, Steve?
Let's go winner.
This may seem pretty low on the list, but I would say the Falcon.
Oh, low. That's low on the list for me. Yeah, but it's definitely okay. All right.
I thought it was a winner, but I don't know. There's also in some ways it's a winner because it's one of the main characters in the movie, and it's got a big reveal, which for some reason they didn't put the sound that you associate with the Falcon. That, like, they didn't do the Falcon leitmotif when you see the Falcon for the first time, which is a weird bit of musical restraint, but I'm sure we're going to get to music soon.
Yeah.
But, like, I think also I almost put it as a loser because we might be headed to some Falcon fatigue.
We're coming close to it, I'd say. Yeah.
Because already episode 9 is going to start with everybody on the Falcon. And
Yep.
Episode 8 was all about the Falcon, and 7 was all about the Falcon. And
yeah. You have to be careful here, I think. Yeah. No, we're getting close. I'm not quite there, but I am definitely close.
Right. So that's why I didn't put it in the top 5 or whatever, even though it seems like it's this big thing. Like, I think in the long term, I mean, in terms of collecting, obviously, it doesn't hurt the Falcon, and it kind of minimally helps it. But it's just, it's a little bit omnipresent.
Yeah. See, to me, my problems with the Falcon aren't so much what it's doing, but it's some of the music associated with it now. That's where it starts to feel more fatigue for me.
Okay, Steve, get on your rant, because this was on your StarWarsAtTheMovies.com. Here comes Steve's rant. I'm just going to lay back.
All right. Well, I like that you mentioned the musical restraint when they reveal the Falcon, and I saw somewhere that the composer John Powell, he had said that when you see the Falcon, you see that you kind of hear the main Star Wars theme, and I guess he kind of used that as a Destiny theme for Han, which I was okay with because it's used in a couple spots where it's not completely off the wall, and I thought with that, because you do hear a slight kind of muted Falcon motif once they've already made the big reveal and they're walking up to the ship, which I thought that worked. But what just kills me in these new movies, except for The Force Awakens, is you start hearing the same TIE fighter attack music anytime the Falcon is getting chased by TIE fighters, which is happening every movie.
Please sing it.
The dun 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 dun, that thing, you know.
No, keep going, and I'll do the next part. Okay, fine.
I'm no David Collins, man. I'm not. Okay. I'm not gonna. That's dangerous. But so this, you hear it again in the big Falcon scene here. But then what really broke my heart was they took probably my favorite piece of music from the original trilogy, which had never been touched, and they put it in there, which is the asteroid field. I sunk in my seat. I'm like, no, leave it alone. But they didn't. And
can you please sing the asteroid theme?
Oh man, that's a complex one. That's right? The one. And then and they would mix it in with Star Wars cues, which I don't know. I was not down with that. But anyway, all right, rant over. That's enough for me. I love the rest of it.
Well, let's talk more about the music, because why not?
Okay, sure.
I don't think that John Powell's score was great, but I thought it was better than whatever John Williams wrote.
You mean for this movie specifically?
No, in general. No, yes, of course, for this movie.
Yeah, I know, but so you don't like the Han theme so much?
I mean, I can't remember it.
See, okay. Yeah, this has happened every time with these new movies too, except for maybe Rey's theme from Force Awakens, but I kind of came away not remembering much of the music, and I have gone back and listened to it quite a bit, and I have come to really, really, really love the Han theme after hearing it.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Give it some time. Give it some time. Yeah.
Because my problem with the music is it felt like there was this same cue that was like Across the Stars. Like all the music sounded like Across the Stars from Episode 2. And I couldn't quite figure out why that was.
Yeah.
Basically, every time that the music did something unexpected, I thought, oh, this is great. Like the guitar was great. The chorus for Emphysema Fest. Like all that stuff.
I thought that was nice. Yeah.
But then anytime they did, like you said, like when they would go back to a Star Wars theme, or when they put the main title theme on like a glockenspiel, it's just go forward. It's okay. You can do it. You can have guitar. You can do it.
Yeah. Give the Adventures of Han a little more time. It's really. It was weird. I thought, like, I can't remember what it sounds like, but listening to the soundtrack and then seeing the movie again after listening to it really made it stand out. I love it. So
okay, well, good. Well, right. You are probably right, Steve. Now, my number 8 loser is multiple in one, and this might be a little bit controversial, but I'm saying the number 8 loser is Han Bespin, Han Hoth, and Han Trench.
Okay, all right.
Because this, well, in one of those insufferable NPR podcasts, they did actually make a good point. So hey, but part of the problem with the movie is that they had to have a stupid character arc, right? Like they had to do it so that Han like ended like not disillusioned. And so we have this problem where at the end, Han does something selfless that is against the character that you're going to see in the next movie.
Right.
So it counted on the fact that they're going to do more Han Solo movies, so that eventually it's going to be like, you know what I think of it? It's like the prequels. It's like, you know that this little kid has to end an evil, twisted, burnt raisin, right?
Yeah, right.
So it seems like they're trying to do that with this, but it's not clear that they're going to. So you have to end with a guy who says, I'm not in it for your rebellion, and I'm not in it for you, princess, or whatever the line is.
Yeah.
Because at the end of this movie of Solo, he's like, you know what? I'm in it for the rebellion. I'm in it for you. Take my money.
Yeah. See, I get that. I could also see, it's funny, we ended up watching the original Star Wars after watching this just because it felt like the right thing to do. And it's crazy how much Woody Harrelson's character echoes the tone and kind of attitude of old school Han. And I didn't notice it as much the first time. You notice it, but when you kind of look back at it, there's some very, to me, like definitive like through lines there with him, where he's basically, if you had just subbed in 1977 Harrison Ford saying some of the dialogue, it just seemed natural. Which right. I know, I'm sure that's their intent, but yeah, I don't know, I'm okay with it not necessarily getting right up to the point where he's kind of a jerk, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So I would say that the other Hans lose, mainly because the as we'll get later in the list, just the standard Star Wars Han is really the Han that you see.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if anything, like especially the Return of the Jedi Hans, where Harrison's already given up.
Yes. See, I had those on my loser list mainly because I guess in terms of their look, they don't really seem to jive with this so much, but because he had him wearing his snow gear kind of, and he had a similar Bespin-y look, but yeah, I think it all still draws back to that original.
Right. Although I will say it's funny that so this is one of the main things about the movie. I understand why people would think that the callbacks were lame, but I just sort of enjoyed them. So, like, I don't know why I didn't get bothered. I guess because my expectations were so low. I think my 3-word review is fractured but fine. It's like the tone's fractured and some of the ideas aren't that good, and actually, a lot of the acting really isn't. I mean, the guy who plays Solo does a good job sometimes, and other times he doesn't, and it's kind of heresy. But even Donald Glover isn't always great in it. I mean, the first time I saw it, I'm like, he's the greatest. The second time, I'm like, oh, that's a little cartoony.
Yeah, there's a couple times where it gets a little more mimicry than him just being the character. I'd say with him more so than Han. But and I thought they were good though. I mean, overall.
But the line I hate you, I know. I thought that was great.
I did too. And it was all delivery. I mean, that could have been botched horribly, but I thought they pulled it off.
So anyway, that's just kind of going back to nothing at all. I don't know why I'm talking about that.
See, this is the no rules of the winners and losers. This is how it kind of plays out.
So for number 7, loser. I actually hadn't really thought of it as a loser, but Andrew Norton from the Facebook page mentioned that X-Wings are losers. And this is going to be a pretty consistent theme of like things that are losers because they used to be a part of Star Wars, and then now it turns out they're not always a part of Star Wars.
Right.
So you just kind of expected to see one kind of in there. And then a couple other people mentioned TIE bombers as being winners. Actually, not a couple other people, actually. It was just our Grammy daddy, Anthony Spinaky.
I think you got it right the first time.
Spinicopita. So yeah, our Grammy Daddy, who's doing a great job with our Instagram feed, and actually you may want to join up on Instagram and post on iTunes because you can win prizes that Grammy Daddy himself is putting up. So that was nice of him. So he mentioned the die-cast TIE bomber, and of course the things that are attacking them aren't TIE bombers. Okay, so Anthony, you're not exactly dead on with that, but they do sort of look like them. And I like the new TIE Fighter design. I think it looks neat. And it's not very academic, but it did make me sort of want a TIE bomber more.
Okay. Yeah.
But number 7 is no good, Steve. Let's move on to number 6.
Winner.
Now this is probably the most controversial one as far as the number 6 winner. But I'm saying the Imperial Commander is the number 6 winner.
Imperial Commander. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Just the British guy in a hat.
Yeah.
Because the whole Han Solo getting his last name.
Yeah.
I thought it was just wonderful. I thought it was acted well. I thought it was funny. It was unexpected. Okay, I get it. It's a question that nobody asked. Okay. Yeah. All right. It's true. I didn't ask. I didn't think that Han Solo. I did think it was just his surname. Right?
Yeah, sure.
But my son just leans over to me and goes, "That's the nicest Imperial officer I've ever seen." And there's just something about that scene which felt, I don't know, the most like written by a screenwriter or something. It was just the idea of having this kind of dry actor who wasn't a jerk. Like, he was a member of the Empire who was just a kind of friendly guy being like, "I hope you can fly, bro. I don't know. We'll have to see. If you can follow orders, you can do it."
And I thought that was a pretty well executed like screenplay-y moment. I thought there were a lot of them that maybe didn't quite land, but that was one where it did.
Right. And I liked that moment, and I thought that I could imagine sort of role playing that with loose figures of being like, "What's your name, Han? Last name? I don't have people." And that was like the number one example on that NPR thing. I'm going to keep on harping on about that. But
I figured you would.
But someone's just like, "I wanted to leave the theater right then." It's like, you know what? To just leave. Just get out of here. You know what? Go watch what? I don't know what you're going to watch. Whatever movie you think passes your ridiculous test. It's
Yeah. So I have I don't know if this one's going to be on your list, but I put the AT-AT Commander on my winners list.
No,
is he on yours?
He is not on my winners list, Steve.
Okay.
So how about we have dueling imps?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Right.
So why is the AT-AT Commander a winner, Steve?
Well, those mud troopers and what Han basically is in that whole Warzone sequence, it's basically General Veers. I mean, that outfit to a T, which I thought was really, really cool to see. And then I guess Beckett has it at least he has the armor and all that. But yeah, like that helmet with the goggles and that chest plate, to see it featured again, I thought that was a really nice little visual nod.
You know what, Steve? I think you're right, and I don't think it's a visual nod. I think it's just a decision. Just, this is how these guys are dressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I mean, it's something that this is like getting back to like the visual stuff in your face. This is what this movie does really well for me anyways. Stuff like that, it's just there, and you don't really think about it. It's just, you just kind of accept it as part of like the language of what's going on. It just makes sense. Right.
And I would say that yes, Steve, that absolutely should have been on the list. That should have been on my list, the AT-AT commander. Because also, I mean, talk about a lame figure. I mean, remember our episode about it? We were like, and is that how you pronounce AT-AT? Okay, can we stop? Yeah, it makes that character more active, and also allows you to think of that as being more than someone who just sits on a ship and just looks dumb.
Yeah.
And I loved all the stuff on the Mud Planet. I thought that was an excellent planet. I think with a lot of Star Wars, and I've noticed this ever since Episode 2, you can sort of break Star Wars down into good planets and bad planets.
Mm-hmm.
That even the best... Okay, the best Star Wars movies, there's no bad planets. But like the bad Star Wars movies, my classic example in Episode 2 is everything that happens on Naboo is terrible. Everything that happens on Coruscant is terrible. Everything that happens on Geonosis is wonderful. Everything that happens on Tatooine is interesting. You know, there's a lot of... You can sort of break up these things into different planets. And I think, as an example, I thought everything that happened on Corellia was just horrible. Like, actually not everything, but just the beginning.
No,
the first 15 minutes.
That was my
I was like, this is gonna be bad.
This is the problem with that first 15 minutes. To me, it's like it's the bad side of the Kasdan writing. Like, if you notice, a lot of his movies
get all Hollywood. Like, come on, Steve, go.
Well, okay, so like, I feel like if you'd cut out maybe, I don't know, 75% of the dialogue and just kept it to a minimum, that scene would have worked perfectly. But for me, it's like it's like they just weren't. There was no restraint there in terms of just letting them talk and basically say the same thing over and over again.
Okay, so you're. I mean, I'm just following you, Steve. I mean, I'm your student right now. So you're saying.
Oh man, I don't know about that.
So you're saying that Lawrence Kasdan has a weakness as a screenwriter, which is overwriting his characters, making them speak too much.
Sometimes, I mean, like the original Empire drafts and like the Raiders draft. There's a lot of dialogue that gets cut out. That just it's telling a story point, but I think isn't necessarily something you need. But
I think what you're really saying is when they take out the hyper fuel. And, oh, by the way, you should have heard those jerks on NPR falling over themselves trying to come up with different jokes on MacGuffin. It's like, yes, we all know what a MacGuffin is. You don't have to keep on saying unobtainium or vibranium or whatever the MacGuffin is now. I'm so smart. Oh, 1 second. I gotta change my shorts. Like, we get it, pal. You know what a MacGuffin is. We all do, okay? I mean, ever since we read, like, Entertainment Weekly about Pulp Fiction in 1994... we know what a MacGuffin is, so you're not okay. But when they're talking about the juice, whatever that is, the
juice, let's call it the juice.
The juice, and it's like, this is what we need. Yes. This is what we need to get off the planet. Yes. We can buy a ship. Yes. We can get off this planet. Yes. That's it. Do you know what we can do with this money, Steve? We can get off this planet. That was
all you needed for that entire sequence was Han saying, "We're getting out of here." Right. That's it. Like, that's the... Cut all that. I loved everything else about Corellia. I mean, that's one of those things where I feel like there's a lot of things you know you're going to see, and sometimes that can be disappointing, but for me, I think this movie handled it really well, and that was one of them. Like, I thought, aside from the unnecessary speaking, I thought that whole opening would have been great if they just trimmed it down. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a bad planet. I'd say it's an interesting planet. It goes into the interesting category.
It was a rough opening. If you look at the Art of book again,
I need to get that. Yeah.
Well, they have all these scenes where you see that all the chases are happening through the Imperial shipyards.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, it's really cool seeing all the TIE fighter cockpits and you see them.
Oh yeah,
through.
that would have been neat.
Instead, it just kind of looked like Columbus in Ready Player One, or Columbus like right now.
Yeah, I wonder if that has to do with the crazy production stuff. Maybe, I don't know.
Right.
Who knows? But I thought overall it could have been great. But yeah.
Yeah, I do get the sense that when they finished the movie and looked at the final cut, they were like, "This, I think we did it. We did it. This is good. This is good. We can do it."
It's a movie. It's a movie.
Kind of like about 3 out of every 12 podcasts I put it on. Like, this is that was a show. Then I'll email Steve the next day. I think the show is terrible. He's like, no, it's fine. All right.
Oh, that's good.
Well, speaking of Imperial recruitment, I think I'd like to go through the number 6 and number 5 losers together.
Okay. Yeah.
Say it. 5 losers.
I think the number 6 loser, and this actually comes from one of the space freaks on the chat here, who mentioned that Snoopies are kind of losers.
Wait. Oh.
It was Rob Corser. Now he calls them snow troopers, but of course, real space freaks call them Snoopies.
Yeah.
Just that there's a snow planet and they weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
I don't know. I mean, are you a fan of the range trooper?
Yes. No, the range troopers are great. I thought it looked excellent. It was an awesome design.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help snow troopers.
No, it doesn't. It's true.
It just sort of is a reminder that it's the sort of catch-22 that they have. And my number 5 loser are Troopies, which are stormtroopers. Just that stormtroopers were hardly in this movie, and part of it is that they have to keep on making new stormtroopers.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, it's they kind of cannibalize each. You know, it's a cannibalistic world for stormtroopers in Star Wars because there's always, on the one hand, it's awesome to see some great designs that always each movie has to have its stormtrooper, right?
Right.
But at the same time, you start to kind of lose out on the classics.
And I think so that's why I would say it was the loser, and more so than in other movies, because there were actual stormtroopers, but all they did was just like hurt children.
Right. Yeah.
They were essentially like TSA.
Yeah, they were the TSA of the movie. That's
Now, I see that whole scene definitely, there was a lot of things you could criticize if you were just looking for logic in that scene.
Well,
but I'm not going to be one of those guys.
No. We're getting out of here. That's it. That's all.
Right. So the number 5 winner, and a lot of people suggested that
5 winners
on our Facebook page as well, and I totally agree. And that's just the Hans Blaster laser pistol.
Totally. That's absolutely a winner.
And this is another case where I think people who are attacking the movie are selling it short, because it actually is sort of a subtle moment, I think, when Han is given the blaster. Yeah. I hadn't really noticed until the second time how much he's kind of fidgeting with it before he hands it to him. I don't know if you noticed that. Yeah. Well, he's actually he's breaking apart. It's like it's a part of another weapon, and he's breaking it apart, and he's handing it to him. Yeah. And he looks at it, and yes, the director, prequels are tough because everybody knows what else has happened, and it's a different kind of art form, and you can't expect it to behave like other art forms. So yes, if you if you don't know that gun is going to become iconic, then treating it like an iconic gun before it's iconic doesn't make sense.
Right.
But it is iconic, so just deal with it. I mean, try understanding instead of just criticizing prequels for the obvious reasons, why not applaud them as being a strange exercise in artistic creativity of how can you do something that's forward and backwards at the same time?
Yeah.
And I thought that was just, it wasn't like the training remote.
No,
I
exactly.
think you're right, Steve.
Yeah.
It was practical, and it was given to him by his actual mentor, so of course you'd hold on to it. I mean, if you're that kid and you're like, I just want my shot, and you're sitting around by the fire, and you've got beat, mix, stir, the pilot sitting there cooking. That was actually my son who came up with that joke.
Oh, yeah?
Well, yeah, we watched so if you don't get the joke, so in the Star Wars Holiday Special, there's Art Carney plays a four-armed woman who's a cook, a cooking show, and as she cooks, she keeps going, beat, mix, stir, beat, mix, stir. And Django and I are playing Pokemon Go, and we named our four-armed Machop Beat, Mix, Stir. Which
that's good.
will be funny for the one of you who plays Pokemon Go.
Sure. There's got to be one out there.
But the character Rio, by the way, why do they name him Rio?
I don't know.
The one played by Jon Favreau doing a Vince Vaughn impersonation.
Right.
Okay, baby. I say it's Vegas. He's actually cooking with four arms. Do you think that was an intentional reference to the holiday special?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you could read it that way. It didn't enter my mind, but I don't know.
Okay, we'll take that as a yes. So anyways, while he's cooking and you have this fireside scene, and the movie does a lot of work to come up with interesting Western tropes.
Sure, yeah.
But one thing I'll say is that I didn't actually feel that it was really Western-y.
As a whole?
As a whole.
Yeah.
And I sort of mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
Because I think you could have simplified things down and made it a lot more of a Western.
Right,
but it didn't actually really feel that way to me because the scope, the scale was so big. You know, going to this planet to refine it and.
Yeah, no, it took pieces of those kind of singular genres, and I thought it combined them pretty well. I mean, with the Western stuff, obviously they got the train, and there was some Western-y type music with that sequence too that I didn't notice the first time, which I kind of appreciated. But it's not hitting you over the head Western. Like, who was that alien in Clone Wars that basically wore a cowboy hat?
Oh,
like, it's not like
Cad Bane.
That's right. Yeah, it's not going quite there, but it may. Who knows?
It's funny. So I'd say that's the number 5 winner. And now we're getting to just the greatest hits here, Steve. This is where.
Oh wait, hold on. Before you get into the top,
you want to talk about the blaster?
Well, this is something I kind of paired with it because I had that on my list too. But Chewie's Bandolier.
Winner or loser?
I had it in a winner, just because I don't know. It seemed like he had that moment where he put not the exact same thing on, but it was a moment where you see him don the gear.
I don't see as a Chewie guy.
Well, that's true. Maybe I'm not the one to speak to that.
Well, as a Chewie guy, it does make me like the bandolier strap more. I mean, I'm happy that they did it that way because it's interesting. And if you read the visual guide and stuff like that, it explains that it's just because he has a shotgun in this movie.
Right.
So he needs shotgun shells.
Sure.
And so the other bandolier strap is the ammunition for the bowcaster.
Yeah.
The only thing that makes me a little bit wary is like, okay, so that means there's going to have to be a scene of where he gets the bowcaster, and it's going to have to be a big deal when he gets the bowcaster. It feels like they're setting it up for like each movie, a big weapon shows up. But I like the bandolier. But I don't know if
It doesn't have the same weight as the blaster, sure.
No.
But it was more of like a tangential winner.
Okay.
And accessories.
I accept your tangential winner, Steve.
All right.
Another tangential winner is definitely buy the Han Solo card game that is for sale at toy stores. So it's a version of Sabacc.
Okay.
And the cards look like they do, and you can just use chips instead. It's kind of like 21, but it's definitely a fun game to play. So if you see it, that gets the Skye stamp of approval. So Steve, as I like to do, the top 4 are all very connected. Oh, actually, that's not true. They're somewhat connected.
Okay.
Thematically connected. I would say the number 4 winner, and this is kind of an aggregate winner.
4 winner.
But it has to be Power Droid.
Oh yeah. The like BattleBot Gonks was pretty great.
There's BattleBot Gonks. There's Revolution Gonks.
Revolution Gonk. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, like slamming slamming like this like
tablet
on the thing. The whole scene, the whole Kessel breakout was just great with the robots going crazy.
Yeah, the cut to that one kind of just stomping on the control panel. I don't know why that was one of the funniest shots.
That's the one. And when I saw it for a second time with my kids, like they both did the pantomime with their hands, like they were immediately there. And and that's great because the visual effects weren't that super. Like you could just sort of tell they were just like, just weird robots being moved around.
Right, yeah.
But I put it in the sort of aggregate because the Power Droid consistently gets propped up in every Star Wars movie.
It does,
I think the only exception was Last Jedi. It was the only one where the Power Droid wasn't prominently featured.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I think I put it on the loser list then.
Yeah.
But again, much like the Death Star droid, these secondary, tertiary background characters that we love as vintage collectors, and I'm definitely getting there, Space Freaks. The ones that do make it in definitely get a bump. And I think they get a bump more than the main characters who are in the movie get a bump. Because it creates a sort of continuity and it makes these small, meaningless characters more meaningful.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I mean, yes.
Because one thing Star Wars is known for, Steve, and I'm getting to the number 4 loser, is it's known for always including the same droids in every movie. So C-3PO is the definite number 4 loser.
4 losers.
And R2-D2 might be as well.
Yeah.
I can't tell if R2-D2 is in the Imperial Recruitment Center. There's a chance that he's in the background.
I remember seeing some other R2 units, but yeah.
But I would say, okay, I thought about this a lot, because when I think about Rogue One and I think about that forced-in scene, I'm like, that's just terrible. Right, I agree. Yeah. Except, now I've changed my mind.
Uh-oh.
Because they could have just made it that C-3PO and R2-D2 were the Stan Lee of Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
And
it seems like that's kind of where they were headed.
And I know that Marvel and Star Wars aren't the same, but put it this way, I don't know if they should have done that. But if they did do that, it would have been better for those characters. Just the idea that they have to always appear. And just to not have them, I think definitely makes them a loser. And
I had them in my losers but winners category because I kind of get the opposite. Every time I see them again, it impacts them negatively. But that's not from a collecting standpoint. That's just personal.
Right. Yeah. No. It could end up. It was a winner for the movie, a loser for the toys.
Yeah. Right.
Now, when we have the Squidhead episode, which should be episode number 91, we are hopefully going to have a Space Freak of the Week or guest, whatever, Mike Hooper, who's been listening for a long time, and he's contributed a lot to the archive party. So thanks to Mike Hooper for coming up with this distinction, which I hadn't actually thought of. Okay. So the number 3 winner, winner and loser. The number 3 winner is Large Head Han. The number 3 loser is Small Head Han. And he's saying because, how did he put it? He's a very funny guy. He put it. What was it? He said, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna just quote: Winner, big head Han. Alden Ergwart had a pretty big head. Loser, small head Han, because Aiden Eck Trenton had a big head."
Yeah.
And I guess I wanted this just to be a place to talk about Aiden Ehrenreich and in line of Mike Cooper's jokes.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell what this movie did for Han Solo as a collectible. What do you think, Steve?
I don't know. I think it's pretty safe to say, at least based on the way vintage collectors seem to be responding to it, I think it helped it. It is interesting to me. It seemed like a total flip for everyone being so freaked out about another actor playing him, and this guy specifically, to seemingly him getting, pretty widespread approval. I'll say I was in the skeptical yet impressed category, maybe not the two extremes, but I don't know. I think overall it helped.
Yeah, I still can't tell how good he was.
Yeah,
because he was so much better than the first 15 minutes indicated.
Well, sure, yeah.
But there is that weird meta thing where it does feel like he's the character from Hail Caesar. It really does. It really feels a lot of time like he's walking in, and Lawrence is coming up, and what did it so simple? He's like trying to tell him, and he just doesn't quite get it. I don't know.
But I'll partner you in bridge. Why the pout?
Would that? It were so simple.
Cut. Very good. Very good.
All right, let's try this. Your line, just say it as I say it. Say your line exactly as I'm about to. Just as I'm about to do.
Sure, okay.
Would that it were so simple.
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 My dear boy, why do you say that? Why do you say twere?
Well, you should say it like I said it.
Yes.
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple. Would that it were so simple.
Watch my mouth. Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
Keep your head still. Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
Would that it were so simple.
I'm trying to say that, Mr. Lorraine.
Sure.
Yeah. I didn't dislike him, and I think that it will be good for the character, mainly because, and I think this will be good for everybody, they sort of got the hardest one out of the way.
Yeah, I think so.
Of all the vintage characters, they took the one that no one can imitate, Harrison Ford. No one can beat.
No.
I mean, even Steve, the greatest talent of our generation, Shia LaBeouf, tried to take over for Harrison Ford and couldn't do it.
Oh, no.
And it turns out, yeah, you can. And it was the bravery of having somebody not trying to imitate him and having it work. I think that does help. And actually, maybe I should have put Han up higher, because the main thing that it does now, and actually, I could put Han, Leia, and Luke up here, as far as, and Obi-Wan. The idea that we just don't have to worry anymore about those characters being replaced. Like, they can be.
Yeah, that does put that fear to rest somewhat. I think with this one, it seemed like it maybe lent itself the most to something that maybe isn't as consequential to me. I mean, to me, the movie it's carefree because Han is kind of carefree, and I don't know. I think I'd still be a little more scared when it came to Luke and Leia. I mean, with Obi-Wan, I think it's already happened. That's done and gone. But yeah, it definitely, I think it broke that barrier, probably for good.
Which I think for vintage collectors is a good thing.
Yeah.
And but not the small head Han.
Not small head Han.
Steve,
no.
I'm going to admit something to you. Like you know how you have friends who are slightly dyslexic or something, and they never know left or right, and they have to hold up their fingers to figure out which one's which.
Yeah.
I always forget which one's rare. Wait, no, I'm gonna remember now. The small head one is rare.
I think, yeah, of the two, it's probably the tougher one.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, you got it. You're good.
Good. The number 2 loser, I don't know. I thought about the loser. I might have put him too low. I was actually going by one of our Space Freaks suggestions, and it seemed to make a lot of sense at the time, but I'm starting to think maybe I shouldn't. I said it was Boba Fett.
Okay, yeah, I had him as a loser but winner. I think in the same vein as R2 and 3PO, where I was glad not to see him.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the reason that I put him there is this other problem of maybe this movie was too reliant on having a sequel. And they pulled some stops, and it seems like they're setting up so that Boba Fett can be in the next one, and the thing with Jabba, and it'll be Boba and Jabba, and the whole thing will be kind of all set up.
Yeah.
I don't know why I put Boba Fett so low, Steve. Who was that on here who said to say he was a loser? Let's call him out and shame him.
I don't know if I caught that one actually. Yeah,
I'm not sure it actually makes any sense. Okay, we're really going to attack whoever it was that said this. Let's see here.
Well, I don't know about attack. You can.
Okay, I can't find it anyway. You know who you are.
You know who you are.
You should be ashamed of yourself. But then, okay, the number 1 loser is going to be an extended rant. So,
oh boy.
So, let's just go to the number 2 and number 1 winner.
1 winner.
All right.
I've been going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth trying to figure out which one. At one point, I had one person one. At one point, I had the other one.
Okay.
You obviously know what these are, Steve.
I think I have a good idea.
Right.
Yeah.
So the question is, who's it
going to be?
Who won more, Lando or Chewbacca?
Right.
Ultimately, I put in second place Lando Calrissian.
Yeah.
And I put Chewbacca first. And I'm going to kind of talk about these together. Now, it's not just because I'm a homer and I love Chewbacca. Like, I actually had Lando first for a long time. Now, the reasons that Lando wins are pretty obvious. The performance was very charming. The character was fun. It was true to what we want the character to be. It was definitely the fan favorite.
Sure, yeah.
A lot of it was, but it's weird because a lot of it's kind of zeitgeisty. It's like the exact moment because the guy just did Atlanta and just did This Is America video. And there's this sort of projection onto Donald Glover that everybody wants him to be the next genius. Actually, I listened to a really good podcast talking about race and Donald Glover, how everyone just wants him to be the next black genius, that like they have a specific role in mind for what he's going to be.
Yeah.
And I actually had them discussing for like 20 minutes, like, is he the next Kanye or not? It's like, those questions aren't even related, you bigot. Anyways.
Yeah.
But I think that over time, our perception of the Lando performance it's never going to be bad, and it'll always be fun. But the initial sort of like, oh my God, he stole the show. He was the best thing in it. Oh, he was the greatest. I think that's going to dissipate over time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. I'd say that you could, if I was going to go with this, I would have landed just where you did.
Landed.
Landed just where you did. Yeah, sure. Why not?
But at the same time, it's hard to tell, and I almost bumped up to 1 because, I mean, the Sabacc scenes were just wonderful. And
they were.
The fact that they went so far with his outfits to have them just be kind of ugly was really great, and I liked the way he interacted with the characters around him.
One of my kind of tangential winners is related to him. You know, the Calrissian Chronicles, that moment. I don't know, how did you feel about that?
Tell me.
Where he's recording his audiobook of his adventures, and he mentions the Shrew, which that was like one of the weird dumb things that I was really, really hoping that something along those lines would be brought up, and
Oh, see, I've never. So that's a book.
We talk. This is one of our like old unloved items, man. The Mind Harp of Sharu. Don't you remember?
I know. This is for the audience, Steve. I'm playing the dumb guy who doesn't know what I'm talking about. So it's an old book from like 1982 or something.
83, yeah.
83,
yeah.
And it's a Lando Calrissian adventure.
Right.
I thought it was the Mind Sharps.
There's the Mind Harp of Sharu, and then there were two others in this trilogy. You had the, I can't believe we didn't go with these. You had the Flame Wind of Ocean, and the Star Cave of Thon Baka. I guess Mind Harp of Sharu is still my favorite of those three, but
And so that's what he's referencing in his captain's log.
Yeah, he's like, and then we saw it, and he's about to say Mind Harp, and that's when the riot pretty much takes over. But yeah, I don't know. I think those vintage books definitely got a lot of love in this movie. There was that weird glowing skull from the cover of that Han Solo book that was in the yacht. Those are the two that stand out to me, but I haven't actually.
Now wait a minute, Steve. Let's also not forget that the entire thing takes place on Mimban, which was the planet in Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Exactly. Yeah, that was another one on my list. That was the first Star Wars book I ever read.
All right, then you know what? Number 11 winner is Bantam Books as far as collectibles go.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Actually, no, we're going to call that 1.5. That's actually a bigger winner than Lando. Let's just say that, because I was trying to think of what oddball things could we put in there.
Right.
So I've got that weird, like, itchy feeling. There's a mosquito flying around. I know it's biting me, but I'm trying not to pay too much attention. So I'm like just watching them. It was. I would say that that's a definite winner, because they didn't seem to go. It didn't seem like they were making EU references to make EU fans happy. No,
that's exactly it.
It seemed like they made EU references to just make things seem bigger, and it could be throwaway or not.
Yeah.
I will say that scene, I do not think it will age well, though.
The him recording himself?
Yeah, because he's just Kirk.
Yeah, that's true.
It's Lando is not Captain Kirk. Like, he's not Zap Brannigan. Like, the joke isn't that he thinks he's great. The joke is that he will bang everybody. You know? Like, that's what makes him great. He's a seductor. He's not a blowhard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I guess I get that.
I'm think about that a little bit more. I'm just working on it now. But, I mean, right? Because he doesn't brag all the time about what he does or what he can do.
No, that's not his usual card.
Yeah.
No.
So I would actually say that puts him more towards on the losing end, because he isn't that way. And also, just there's a lot of dick jokes, because Khaleesi was like legitimately talking about his penis, and she got cut off, but
right.
I mean, that's they're showering together. Han and Chewie are showering together. I think there's another one in there too.
Isn't there some stuff with his droid? Wasn't there?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's a sex robot. That's
weird. That I guess that's
how
that's
does it work? It works. Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. There might have been another one in there somewhere.
Just a fair number of sex jokes, which, I gotta say, I'm not a particular fan of that.
Yeah.
So then that leads us to, of course, our number one winner, which I think has to be Chewbacca, Steve.
Yeah, I don't think I can't argue with that at all. Walking away from it, for me, I think I said this already, but I was just so excited to talk to you, and I'm like, oh God, he's got to be eating this up. The actor Jonas.
Yeah,
Jonas.
Yeah, Jonas Suotomo. Yep.
Yeah, he is fantastic. I don't know. I think it really pissed me off when he didn't get billed on that character poster where
right.
Jon Favreau and Monkey Man they have that, but not Chewie. I mean, come on.
I think that's going to change, because he made a lot of trips on the circuit, and he's a tall, handsome guy with spiky hair and blue eyes, and
he's got a good attitude. Seems like
he's got a good attitude. He's charming. He's not. I mean, I love Peter Mayhew, but that dude is. If he weren't Chewbacca, you would be uncomfortable sitting at a table with him. You know what I mean? Because just he's very disarming. You know.
Yeah.
Whereas Jonas is very.
I think he's the opposite of that. It seems
right.
like
He's very charming, and I mean, obviously, I really like Peter Mayhew, but what I'm saying is that it's not that he's just disarming is what I would say. And you can definitely tell that Eunice has his own way of acting.
Yeah.
It was weird for me because obviously I think a lot about Chewbacca. I think a lot about Chewbacca's history and what is he and what is he not. And I definitely have always had the idea in mind that Han was an Imperial pilot and that he saved Chewbacca, who was being enslaved, and that he was broken free on Kashyyyk, and that...
Yeah, that's one of those things that's been implanted, for forever.
But maybe it's just because I'm in this weird enlightened state, Steve. But when it was completely not that,
You've held the mind harp. You've held the mind harp.
Yes. I was able to just go with it. I was able to just say, like, okay, no, now they've met at the Battle of Verdun in space, in the prisoner of war cannibal camp. And I was just able to accept that. And there's so much that I liked about it. Obviously, Steve, and I haven't heard anyone talk about this. Han, how did Han save his life, Steve?
Well, getting him like staging the fight. You mean like getting him?
Nope.
What are you talking about?
No, of course, Steve. Of course. How does Han save his own life? What is the key for Han saving his own life?
Oh, saving his own life. Sorry, I thought you meant saving Chewie's life. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
he learned another language, Steve. And he didn't perfect it, but he knew enough to communicate with other people, because cross-cultural competence matters, you ignorant jerks out there who don't know another language and tell your kids it doesn't matter, and everyone speaks English. Yeah, you know what? Maybe they do. Maybe Chewbacca speaks English, but it matters when somebody communicates to you and shows you the respect of learning your language and communicates with you, not as though you are there to serve them. You are not a tourist in this life going from place to place with your phrase book asking for beer in 17 different languages. You need to understand a culture, and the way to understand a culture, Steve, is the first place you go is language. Try to understand what the language is. How does it work? Show some respect for the people that you're with, that you're talking to, and they will respect you back. Their entire relationship is mediated through language and fidelity. That's what it's about. That's what Han and Chewie is about. That's what this movie brought, and it's a beautiful thing. And it's there's a bad Saturday Night Live sketch based on a funny idea of Keenan, I don't know, the Good Burger guy, not understanding how everyone speaks every other language, you know. But here, you don't know why Han speaks Shirwook, but you get to hear him try it, and you've never heard anyone ever try to speak it before. And obviously it's a little bit awkward, and it's okay, they don't need to do it all the time.
No.
But just this moment, this vulnerability of him trying to speak it, and he doesn't speak it perfectly, and it's played a little bit for laughs.
Right, yeah.
But that's what made me happy, Steve. Was language. Was that he listened to his Shirwook 2 professor, and he did what most people can't. And that's, what is it, Steve, that can turn someone from a feral, hungry beast who's been starved for 3 days, who's confronted with an Imperial officer, what can turn that into a civilized, loving creature? But it's language, and because it's the connection to reason. Like, that's the way that our emotions cycle through reason. So anyway,
I thought that landed and played pretty well, all things considered. Given how silly they really could have made it, I think it worked just right.
Well, it is a little silly, but it's
a little silly, but it's not in a negative sense.
It's the reality of other languages. It sounds silly when I try and speak French, you know.
Sure, right, yeah. And the broken language communication, yeah.
Right. But it was just that little bit of respect that's what did it. So that, if for no other reason, that just makes me happy, because it's yet another example I'll be able to show in my classes and talk about the importance of learning the language, because it's really important. And okay, so Star Wars is good. And again, another thing those NPR jerks were saying, like, do we really need to know why Han calls him Chewie? It's like, I don't know. No, we didn't. We didn't need that 5 seconds, but it made my kids kind of go, hee hee. It made probably 80% of the audience go, hoo hoo. So I'm sorry that it didn't please you, but it's a funny enough line. It takes 5 seconds, and yeah. So
yeah. So I have a quibble. I'm wondering if you have the same quibble. It's a Chewie related quibble. In one of the TV spots, one of the best things that they had shown, I think, before the movie, at least got me really excited, was the final scene where he's showing Chewie his hand, and that audible reaction that he made in the trailer just cracked me up. Yeah. And I was so bummed out when they went to a stock Chewie growl or sound for that. That bummed me out so much. I thought it was so great. I'm wondering why that had to happen. It happens all the time, but
that's still my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah,
the scene where he shows him the cards and he makes that face because it's Eunice's performance.
Yes,
but that's actually a really funny thing. My dad, before he went to see the movie with us, and he was like, "The only thing I want to know is if they have different Chewbacca sounds." I was like, "All right," and I thought about that a lot. They did add a fair number of Chewbacca sounds.
Yeah, no, there were some great new bits of it, and I guess maybe I wonder if that was just Eunice's voice in the trailer. That was just his, and that would have been great if they stuck with that. But still, great scene.
Yeah, it's a great scene, and it is one of the weird things where the Chewbacca sounds are like R2-D2 beeps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like the button that you press for the there's a certain number of sounds that he can make.
Right.
I do wonder why they don't change those more.
Yeah.
Now, I do think that's one of the great things missing. I don't know why Ben Burt isn't on these movies.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on there. But it's definitely all the lasers sound different now. They have for a while. You can tell there's been a shift there, which is a bummer. I don't know.
So I that's sort of one of the kind of small nitpicks I have is just the general. There wasn't anything sound related that made me excited, and there's usually something sound related that makes me excited in every Star Wars movie. Whether it's a new language or it's a special effect sound.
Yeah.
But yeah, so going back to Chewie, I mean, the scene with the 2 drinks is one of the great classic scenes.
See, that is good Kasdan. That's where you're swinging back the other way that. That's perfect.
And do you know why it's also perfect? Because the thing that I love about movies and fiction in general is it helps you to find a way to make things in your own life better. So, how many times, Steve, have you been with a friend and you go and you think that you're just there with a friend, and then they're off doing something else, usually talking to a girl, and you're just you're just stuck there because your friend is off doing something cooler. And you don't always have the 2 drinks in your hand, but for the rest of my life and for the entire time that my kids are growing up and they have their whole lives, they will always be able to just imagine they're all right, I guess I'll drink both. Just that kind of resignation of I thought he was all right. Okay, situation's changed.
Yep. No, that was great.
And they did ruin all the great Chewie moments in the trailers. The chess playing scene was ruined. The scene where he dunks the slaver. I love that.
Oh man,
I love that so much.
Spectacular.
Every time when I watch it, when he hits the head, I go, dunk. And another thing, the movie showed a lot of restraint in not having that be Chewbacca's family. When he freed them and he hugged them, it wasn't like Mala. It was just, he just has to save them.
The tribe and family line, I thought that was really good. And the way that worked with that. To me, I thought it worked well.
Yeah, it did work well. And it also made it that if Chewbacca has a life debt to Han, it feels to me that Han and Chewie escaped together.
Yeah,
so
right.
Chewie doesn't know Han anything. But the only time Han really gave him something was where he said, you take care of yourself. And it was to help somebody else. So it really shows the altruistic side of Chewie.
Yeah, and just going back to the physical, like the stunt performing with Chewbacca in this, that moment when he chucks him out of the pit and then they're running in opposite directions and he just yanks him across the screen.
It's
like
so funny.
It is so good. Like it's man.
Yeah, all that stuff on Mimba and the whole World War I trenches, it was great. And Chewbacca coming from there and not really knowing what the story is, but finding it interesting. And
yeah, really, really well handled, I think.
Yeah, it was great. So I would say Chewbacca was the number one winner. And strangely enough, part of the reason why he was number one winner is they did a really good job with his costume.
Yeah.
So one might say that my favorite thing in the world would be the costume designer. But Steve, as we will see it's not. The number one loser.
One loser.
I think for 4 movies in a row is the Cantina Aliens.
Yeah, they're
Neal Scanlan must be stopped. This guy has got to knock it off, okay?
They're struggling. That's
no, they're not struggling. This guy is obsessed with these weird mandible creatures everywhere. They all look the same. Every single thing he designs looks the same. It's a cool design. He's got to be stopped. Yeah. We have to have Cantina. Okay, listen.
You got one finally.
Oh, what? One Greedo on the way back?
One Greedo in the way back.
No, that doesn't count.
I know it doesn't count. But,
listen.
Yeah.
I got the Denny's cards, right? We went to Denny's, by the way.
Oh, right.
Oh, by the way.
Did you survive Denny's?
1 second. A plug for Rebel Force Radio. Jimmy Mac's brother, Billy Mac, does something called Puppet Lando.
Oh, man.
And he does an impersonation of Billy D. Williams that is, honest to God, the funniest Star Wars impersonation I have ever heard. They do Billy D. Williams reading the menu for Denny's. You heard this, Steve?
I did hear this, yeah.
I've listened to it 5 or 6 times.
I need to go back and listen to it now.
It's the way he gets the mistakes. He's like, and now the Blaster Fire... Oh, the Blaster Fire Burger. And it's just I didn't have it with the... Crunch Rocks. It's so funny.
Yeah. Oh God. It reminds me of something. I don't know. I think I might have told you about this, but at the Star Wars Reads event that the club's been going to the last couple of years, Billy D was actually there to read Where the Wild Things Are.
Oh wow!
A couple of years ago, and Tessa and I both came to the same conclusion. It's like he had clearly. It's almost It's like he was acting like he was reading a book for the first time, like aloud.
Right.
But he also had clearly, like, never, ever heard of Where the Wild Things Are. So to see him kind of get surprised as he was reading it, it was exactly the same as so Billy Mac reading the Denny's menu. It was exactly the same. It's so good.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how funny it was.
Yeah.
So that was what got me to go to Denny's, was hearing that. So we went to Denny's the first time, and it was fun because the commercial, they have the cards, and all the kids are at the table, and they have the cards, and they trade them back and forth. So I bought, a bunch of packs until I got a Chewbacca in the last pack, and my kids trade them back and forth, just like in the commercial. And we ate, and it was okay. This time we go back. We go to the wrong Denny's, Steve. First of all,
that doesn't sound so good.
The waitress was morbidly obese. Every customer was morbidly obese. Not appetizing. There's nothing wrong with being morbidly obese, but as far as like getting ready to eat at Denny's, that's not what you want as a reminder.
Yeah.
They didn't seat us for 5 minutes, even though the restaurant was virtually empty. And then they wouldn't sell us the cards until the end of the meal. Because there's coupons, and they don't want us using those coupons for our meal. So Denny's advertised something, which is, let's go to Denny's and buy these cards and play with them, and then they couldn't deliver it. And my dad was hilarious because we went with him. And on the way there, it's like, people say that fast food is bad. If you have it once a month, it's really not that bad. It's just food. And then at the end, he was like, I don't think I was right about fast food. Steve, it knocked us out for like... it ended our evening.
Yeah.
I just laid down on the couch.
I will never forget the first time it was at Celebration. Brock went to a Denny's for the first time, and it almost killed him. Like it... Literally almost killed him.
Because listen, Taco Bell and McDonald's are fine. I mean, seriously, it's bad food and you might poop. But like, you eat Denny's or you eat like Bob Evans or something, there's like some kind of like stomach coating poison that they put in there. You just wait for death.
If it gets you at the wrong time, it is life threatening.
Yeah. So anyways,
I'm glad you guys are okay. You got your cards, right?
Warm citrus sauce.
Oh, stop.
Yeah, so we got the cards, and I got the Chewbacca cup topper, and I got all. It was such a nightmare experience. But that's the thing about being a Chewbacca collector now. I can't keep
sacrifice up. Sometimes.
I've gotten like 3 like more than 4 foot wide, 6 foot tall posters in the past couple weeks. It is crazy how many Chewbacca posters I'm getting.
Yeah, you're gonna have to start a rotating gallery. I think is what your solution is gonna have to be.
Anyways, getting back to Neal Scanlan and the Cantina Aliens.
Sorry.
Listen, we don't need what they did in Rogue One, but what we do need is just. The point has been made. The world is bigger. The world is bigger than it was in episodes 4, 5, and 6, but the world's also bigger than the kind of creature that Neal Scanlan creates. And at this point, I feel like I'm in Neal Scanlan's head. Like, I just go, and everything's just Neal Scanlan. Where I was going to the Denny's thing is one of the cards is one of his creatures, Therm Scissor Punch.
Oh, right.
And it's good.
Is that the Lobster Man?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All this stuff is good, but I think it's gone enough. It's gone far enough. We need Cantina Aliens in Star Wars movies. Just at all. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you need a little bit more of a presence. I think that's a universal complaint.
Yeah.
Which is it's reasonable. Yeah.
So, Steve, those are my top 10 winners and losers. Did you have anything else you wanted to add in there?
No, everything that you got, I think I had on my list. There's nothing that we didn't get. I don't think. I guess we talk about Lando's skiff? I thought that was that falls into that kind of just part of the scene visual, which was I thought was great.
Yeah, I meant to put that on with my Lando skiff. I don't think that Lando General's a winner because
no, I didn't have him as a winner.
Which is because Lando General sucks, anyways. But yeah, I think the it's weird because he wasn't wearing it, which was kind of a weird bit of restraint.
Yeah, I that's what made it work for me. I think.
Yeah, I agree. I liked it, and I think that's a perfect example of where you can read it two ways. The NPR guys were like, another question you didn't have, but I don't think it's like answering a question. It's like, oh, that was a costume that he had.
Yeah, no, to me that's exactly it. It's not answering a question. Yeah,
so
it was good.
I guess the big question is, what influence would this have on the fact that the movie isn't doing very well? I do think that the vintage market is going to take a nosedive. It seems like now's the time because the movies are not hot, and I bet over the next year they're going to go down.
Yeah, so what we have a year and a half till the next movie. Right. So, yeah.
Which by the way, if any of you Hollywood geniuses out there, Steve, I know you're a Hollywood genius. Oh, and by the way, I have my plans basically set. So,
good.
We need to talk because we're going to be hanging out in July.
All right.
The reason that Han Solo isn't doing well is because it came out 6 months after The Last Jedi. Point.
Right.
Period. The end. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no other reason. It's not that everyone hated The Last Jedi. It's not that people don't care about Han Solo.
Nope.
That's just it. It's just too much Star Wars. Star Wars, they wanted to see, hey, are we Marvel? No, you're Star Wars. So be Star Wars. Don't put them out 2 in a year. 1 a year is too much as it is, but that works.
Yeah, it's
you
pushing
can
it.
you can sustain 1 a year. It's just a kooky mistake. So I think
I'd agree with that.
I think this is going to tank. People are going to say Star Wars is dead. People are going to get out of the hobby. There's going to be a long wait. Episode 9 is going to start looking kind of good. It's going to be very clear it's going to be good. I think J.J. Abrams is going to make a true masterpiece. I think he's going to finally make like a completely great movie on all objective levels.
Let's hope so.
That's my prediction is that Episode 9 is going to be as good as the closest thing to the original trilogy that you can make. That's just my prediction. I think there's a great artist inside of him, and I think he's going to do it. But who knows?
Let's hope so, man. I hope so.
Yeah. Or he'll just do exactly what he did with Force Awakens, which is great, but by virtue of the fact that he did it twice, it will not seem good.
Right.
So that's my solo review, and that's if you want to read Steve's solo review, go to StarWarsAtTheMovies.net.com. Chive Cast will be next month. It'll be Squidhead. It will be with my Cooper, and your Cooper, all of our Coopers, really.
Yes.
And that'll be a lot of fun. So until next time, Wampa Wampa.
Long live the beast, and adios.